Hello YouTube, I am here to share my Gladiator Beast deck from Master Duel with everyone. Gladiator Beasts have been my favorite deck for a very long time. I used them to win a Shonen Jump Championship way back in the day, and I used Gladiator Beast to qualify for the 2009 World Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game World Championship as well, so they've been a favorite deck of mine for a very long time. That said, Gladiators back then were very different than the way I would play Gladiators now. And I see a lot of players building Gladiator Beasts, focusing on Gladiator Beast Gyzarus and other cards that made them so powerful back in the day. So I want to share my current list to sort of highlight some of the newer support they've gotten. This deck has been doing very well on Master Duel. I had no problem using it to get to Platinum 1. I used both this deck and Cyber Dragons along the way, but each held their fair share of wins to get to Platinum 1, so I do want to sort of explain the new strategy of Gladiator Beasts for players who are either new to using the deck or players who are returning from the golden age of Gladiator Beasts. One of the biggest differences between Gladiator Beasts today and Gladiator Beasts way back when is that back in the day you would use Gladiator Beast Gyzarus and pretty much spam its effect to destroy your opponent's cards until you would eventually win, getting additional cards through tag outs and tag ins. Gladiator Beast today, in my opinion, should not be played as a Gladiator Beast Gyzarus spam deck. Gladiator Beast Tamer Editor should be the new focus of Gladiator Beasts. The way I built this deck, at least that's the way I built it. I built this deck, and this deck, as I've mentioned, has had much success for me on Master Duel. Gladiator Beast Tamer Editor is the focus of the deck, and all the cards in the deck basically exist to support Tamer Editor. Tamer Editor you can summon by fusing together 2 level 5 or higher Gladiator Beasts on the field. For that reason, you're using Gladiator Beast Attorix, which can copy the level of a Gladiator Beast by sending it to the graveyard from the deck. Gladiator Beast Vespasius, and most importantly, Gladiator Beast Augustus. Fuse any 2 of them, you make Tamer Editor. Tamer Editor's effect will allow you to special summon any Gladiator Beast from your extra deck. So you can go for Gyzarus to destroy your opponent's cards, but more often than not, you're going to want to go for either Gladiator Beast Domitianus, which is an insane card, 3,500 attack points. You choose your opponent's attack targets, and it negates the activation of a monster effect and destroys it once per turn. Or Gladiator Beast Heraklinos, which can negate the activations of spells and traps and is not a once per turn effect. Tamer Editor basically gives you access to everything. Tamer Editor is pretty easy to summon too, because most of the cards in the deck are there to help you summon Tamer Editor. You have Gladiator Beast Rejection, which when you summon a Gladiator Beast from the deck, you get to special summon another one of a different type. It's not level restricted, so you can go get a level 7. Test Tiger helps you extend on your field and facilitate tag outs. And the link to Test Panther is one of the strongest Gladiator Beast support cards they've received, along with Gladiator Beast Comeback. Panther can add any Gladiator Beast card from your deck to your hand when it's summoned, including an Augustus or Gladiator Beast Comeback. And once per turn, it's basically a Test Tiger effect without tributing itself for a Gladiator Beast on your field. Once you summon Tamer Editor and use its effect to special summon Domitianus or Heraklinos, you're going to want to get Tamer Editor off the field. And you'll usually do that by linking it away either to summon a Test Panther, Appaloosa, so you get additional monster negations, or in a pinch, you can actually summon the Tamer Editor to your extra monster zone and link it away for Gravity Controller. Once it's in the graveyard, you can use World Legacy Succession, Gladiator Beast's Comeback, or Monster Reborn to special summon it, and immediately use its effect again to summon either another Domitianus, a Heraklinos, or if your opponent has cards you need to destroy, the Gladiator Beast Gyzarus. This deck does struggle against Maxx, so I'm thinking about taking out maybe Infinite Impermanence for maybe a Call by the Grave. I've had a couple of issues with F-Zero, so I might remove Nerokius for Nightmare Unicorn to deal with that. But overall, you really just want to summon Tamer Editor, and you want the cards in your deck to support that. So there are some changes that I could still see myself making to this deck, but I have used it a lot, tested a lot, and I have revamped it a lot. I used Pot of Avarice previously, never really activated it, took it out. I see a lot of players like Gladiator Beast United and play multiple copies of it. I like just one of as a searchable card. I think this card is actually one of the most overrated Gladiator Beast cards because it requires quite a bit of setup to be able to activate it, because you need to have all the pieces and can only activate it in the battle phase. Whereas summoning Tamer Editor in your main phase is so easy, and there's so many more cards that support it. You'll notice the 3 copies of Gladiator Beast Andal at the beginning of the deck list. It's probably one of the most important cards in the deck, because you can summon 2 of them with Rescue Rabbit. You can also summon it without using a normal summon, thanks to Unexpected Dai. And both Rescue Rabbit and Unexpected Dai combo really well with Gladiator Rejection to help you fill your field with more monsters. As a quick note, this deck can actually turn a single Rescue Rabbit into Appaloosa with 3 materials. You just banish the Rescue Rabbit to summon 2 Andals, link away the 2 Andals to summon Test Panther, use Panther's effect to get Gladiator Beast Comeback from your deck, use the Comeback to special summon Andal, who's a different type than the Panther, because it's a Beast Warrior, not a Beast. Then use the Panther's effect to send back the Andal. Special summon Darius, whose effect will special summon Andal back from the grave. And then you'll have the Link to Test Panther, as well as an Andal and a Darius on your field, so you can link summon Appaloosa, both Bow of the Goddess. This is actually not even close to one of the stronger plays the deck can make. I rarely do this, but if your hand is really bad and all you really have is the Rescue Rabbit, it is something you can do to try to stave off your opponent. You do want to go first with this build of this deck. Traditionally, Gladiator Beasts were very reliant on battle, because that's how their effects activate. But this particular build is more of a break my field deck. And you want to go first, build that field, and basically stop your opponent from amassing their combos, so that you can just finish them off with the field you amassed on your first turn. Also worth noting, if your opponent can't get Tamer Editor off of your field on their turn, you can use its effect again on your turn. It's not once while it's face up on the field, and it's not a hard once per turn. It's not a hard once per turn. It's just a straight up once per turn effect. So for every Tamer Editor you summon, you can use its effect once per turn. So without further ado, I will show some of the replays from matches I've played. So you can see some of the combos, and you can see how this deck plays. I think this is probably the best build of Gladiator Beasts. There's a few changes that can certainly be made, and I'm constantly looking to improve it. So let me know what you think might make the deck even better, and let me know your opinions of it. If you want to see more Master Duel videos like this, please like and subscribe. So as you can see, I was still playing Pot of Avarice in my deck at the time I played this duel. Right off the bat, I have Gladiator Rejection in my hand, which is really good. So when you have that combined with a Gladiator and a Test Tiger, you're easily able to special summon a level 7 from your deck with the Tiger, and then another level 7 with Rejection. Fuse them for Tamer Editor, use its effect to summon Domitianus, and as you can see here, you can then link away your 2 monsters, the Tamer Editor and the Test Tiger, the additional Test Tiger, to summon Test Panther. Panther's effect gets another Comeback. Comeback can special summon Tamer Editor, and then Tamer Editor's effect once again can summon Domitianus. In this instance, I use Test Panther's effect to bring to trade in my Tamer editor for a quest and return comeback to my hand. I'm not sure if that was really worth it, to be completely honest. But that's the play I made there. Here you can see my opponent summon Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Note that Gladiator Rejection doesn't just extend your field, it also stops your opponent from targeting your monsters, your Gladiator Beast monsters, which is really helpful. You'll notice a lot of opponents actually, I guess, don't realize that Domitianus redirects their attacks. So you'll see them make foolish attacks where they totally lose out on. And in this particular instance, it caused the destruction of his alternative dragon, and you can also get the achievement of doing damage on your opponent's turn thanks to that effect, which is nice for Master Duel. He did summon the 4,000 attacker, so I was able to redirect that to a quest, and then on my own turn, use the Test Panther to trade in a Gladiator for Vespasius, which gives all of my monsters an additional 500 attack points, so that I was able to win on that turn. If your opponent can't clear your field, your opponent's in bad shape. And that's sort of how the deck runs, and although the deck does brick and sometimes draws hands that really don't amass to much, usually you can do something unless your opponent is disrupting you with something like a Maxx or an Ash Blossom, and this deck actually plays through Ash Blossom fairly well because of how many methods it has for extending monsters onto the field. Any hand with Rescue Rabbit, as long as you don't have two Andals, is already pretty good. I guess at the time I was playing this build, I was using Proving Ground in my deck. I have since then taken it out. It's not bad, though, because it can search for Attorix, which can actually be pretty helpful sometimes. But anyway, I had Unexpected Dai and Rescue Rabbit here, so I want to use both. Obviously, you want to use Unexpected Dai first, because you have to control no monsters to do it. Once I had the 3 Andals out, I can summon Test Panther, use its effect to get comeback, and then Panther's effect allows me to trade in monsters. I swapped out a Gladiator for Augustus. Augustus's effect summoned another Augustus, and then that Augustus's effect activated to summon Attorix. Note that if you summon a Gladiator from your hand with Augustus's effect, it also gets its effect because it's summoned by the effect of another Gladiator. This hand was obviously really good because you can make Appaloosa, then activate comeback. In this instance, I chose to summon Heraklinos with the Tamer editor I newly summoned with comeback because of the fact that I already have on the field 4 methods of negating monster effects, 3 through the Appaloosa once per chain, plus the Domitianus. So additional monster effect negation seemed unnecessary. I negated the Pot of Desires here. That's probably a questionable play. But in any case, I made it to the next turn without him disrupting my field. It looks like I chose not to use Tamer Editor's effect here because I knew he had the Torrential Tribute. So I just went for the attacks. Again, the field has already been built at this point, so it's tough for my opponent to really do anything. Obviously, he tries to force the Torrential Tribute to clear the field. Heraklinos will negate that. And Tamer Editor, although I didn't use its effect in main phase 1, Tamer Editor is able to tag out, and it can actually cause your other Gladiator Beasts to tag out, even the ones that can't normally. So that's cool too. So in this particular instance, I could have tagged out for a quest, so I'd have a card in my hand to negate with Heraklinos. I chose instead to, in main phase 2, use Tamer Editor's effect to summon another Domitianus. So, there's a lot of ways to play it, but the short of it is you're building the field that you're comfortable with and think that you can win with. My opponent sets a back row here. Once I drew a card, it's over. Because whatever it is, I can negate with the effect of Heraklinos. But Tamer Editor, as you can see here, can actually just special summon Gyzarus from the extra deck, which is almost easier than fusion summoning it back in the day. And it's almost crazy how this deck now summons Gyzarus as more of an afterthought. When the old deck, Gyzarus was the bread and butter of the deck. So let's take a look at another duel. This hand has Rescue Rabbit and Test Tiger. That's really good. You know, again, extending monsters onto the field is going to help you summon copies of Domitianus and Heraklinos, and that's what you're relying on to win. In earlier versions of the deck, I did play Solemn Judgment, which, when I get 3 in Master Duel, I might try out again. I just don't know if I would rather play cards that I can use on my opponent's first turn when they're first. So in this game, I think I made the mistake of summoning Domitianus from my extra deck and using it in the Link summon. Because if you actually special summon with Tamer Editor and then link it away, you can't bring the Domitianus back. So I played this hand totally wrong. There were much better ways to play this hand. But at the end of the day, you know, it was such a powerful hand. I don't think it mattered. Because at the end of my first turn, I have 3 Appaloosa negations and the Heraklinos negation. And I'm not shy to negate with the effect of Appaloosa because I have so many negations. And if he can't take down the Tamer Editor, Domitianus will come out on the next turn. The 2 back rows are relevant against Heraklinos. You know, that replay went pretty fast, so I'm not 100% sure what exactly I should have done. But I remember playing this game and thinking I had messed it up badly. So in this case, I allow him to revolt. Because I choose to draw the 2 cards instead, and he didn't have the pieces to make Shureg in his graveyard. And I already have Monster Negation on the field. So the depleted Appaloosa can still be used as a link material, and now it's summoning Test Panther. Test Panther can also add War Chariot from the deck to your hand, so that's an additional monster negation, which is pretty cool. But again, you build that field and then it's just over. If your opponent can't break your field, you win. And you can build some incredible fields with this deck. Just remember, it's all about Tamer Editor. As you can see, my opponent is playing a Blue Eyes deck here. I Ash the Melody to stop him from getting 2 cards. I don't particularly care about the White Stone of Ancients he discarded because summoning Blue Eyes doesn't really matter so much against me. Because Gladiator Beasts have never had trouble destroying cards thanks to Gyzarus. So Gladiator Beasts come back and actually summon from the hand or graveyard, so that comes in handy. In this particular case, I certainly wanted Gyzarus to destroy the Blue Eyes. So once he has a clear field and you're attacking with Gyzarus, you're able to special summon any 2 Glads from your deck, other than Bestiari, so you're pretty much free to build an awesome field. So by getting Equeste and Augustus and then using Rejection's effect to summon Vespasius, I was able to return the comeback to my hand and summon Tamer Editor, which I could use to make Domitianus. You see Gravity Controller relevant here because I was able to put the Tamer Editor in the extra monster zone so I can link it away for Gravity Controller, which lets me bring it back with comeback and make Heraklinos. Since I have not yet made Test Panther this turn, you can see that I link summon it here, which is going to let me get the comeback again. And this is where I made an error, actually. Because I summoned the Heraklinos before I summoned the second Domitianus, I was unable to use the comeback to bring back the Tamer editor. The comeback can only summon monsters of types that are not shared on your field, and Tamer editor is indeed a beast warrior like Heraklinos. So if you are planning to summon Heraklinos, learn from that mistake, summon it last. Do it at the end of the play. So I want to highlight that so that you don't make that same mistake I did in that duel, and I won't make it again either. Let's take a look at the final saved duel. You can see me playing this deck and others on Twitch. I stream Master Duel often. Again, anything that summons from the deck, like Unexpected Dai or Rescue Rabbit, combined with Gladiator Rejection, is insanely strong. So my opponent gets Dogmatica Punishment here, 4 back rows. This deck is relatively good against back rows, generally. Even Skill Drain usually isn't too problematic, because you could actually tag out with Skill Drain active, even by using Test Tiger, which tributes itself. And the cool thing is, if you tag in Augustus, even though its effect is negated, 2600 attacks pretty good with Skill Drain up. So that's a nice perk. So I set 3 cards here. They're all spells because Anti-Spell Fragrance really shut me down for a while. And then we're off. So my opponent immediately negates the rejection with Solemn Judgment, paying half of his or her life points. But that's not really going to stop me because I have Unexpected Dai face down. So I do try to summon Darius, or I do summon Darius with the effect of Test Tiger, seeking to make Gyzarus by special summoning Bestiari, but he negates the effect, and instead I'm just attacking with monsters. Gladiator Beast United comes into effect here, so it's pretty cool that it's able to destroy his cards and summon Gyzarus, which single-handedly ends the game. So that was a less traditional way of winning. It didn't build the field, but Gladiator Beasts do have resilience as well, and you do still have Gyzarus, so rogue decks are still vulnerable to Gyzarus. You'll see a lot of the top tier decks really don't care as much about Gyzarus because a lot of their cards have immunity to destruction effects and combo so powerfully that you really can only stop them by shutting off that combo with cards like Domitianus and Heraklinos. So that's it. So I hope you liked my Gladiator Beast deck. Give it a shot if you wanted to play Gladiator Beasts, if you have the cards. If you're out of packs to crack and it seems like a fun deck that you would enjoy, I strongly recommend playing them. And let me know if there are any changes you would make to the deck, any suggestions you have to further the goal of building an unbreakable board on your first turn.